Okay, I think we're on. We're going to give everybody about a minute or so to log on. And welcome to Kitchen Chat. This is our 392nd time doing Kitchen Chat, I think.
Wow.
I know, you've missed it.
This is my first Kitchen Chat.
So while we're waiting for people to come on, why don't I introduce who's going to be on with me tonight? Korol Kuklo, our assistant winemaker, 19 years now. Sister!
Wow, 19 years?
19 years. I thought I had only been here 19 years, but that can't be possible if you've been.
So young back then.
I know, it's crazy. But I digress. So we're going to bring out the two people that are off camera that run our Crush Club, Terry Mirestone and Shalane Sleegers. Come on out. And Terry,
Terry.
This is Terry. Yeah. This is Shalane. Don't leave yet, Terry. Tomorrow morning is Terry's 5th anniversary working at Tinhorn Creek Vineyards.
Congratulations!
It's
not 19. That's okay.
I know. That's tomorrow morning. Did you know that?
I know.
Oh yeah. So she was just expecting me to say that tonight.
No, I
we didn't
wasn't.
practice.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's my husband's birthday too, so
that's okay.
He claims all.
It's more important that it's your anniversary.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay, so the way Kitchen Chat works, tonight we're going to be discussing new releases, 2017 Crush Club shipment. Although, of course, if you're not a club member, why not? Anyway, if you're not a club member, these are wines obviously that you can buy as well. And so we're going to be tasting through the wines that were in the shipment. And let me think. There was one more thing. Okay, I guess we'll just get off to a rousing start, but I can't. That's the thing I was going to say, but anyway.
We did. I do want you to mention that we did put up the picture of you and
Korol. So when you
join
joined the chat tonight, you probably saw a picture that looks like the Joshua tree.
Yeah.
The album
cover.
Yeah. Korol and I went to this Saturday, which was awesome. And I know your next question is, were you stuck outside? And the answer is no, we were not. We were inside and wine and large
and buying
jugs
T-shirts and
screen. You weren't really out.
We were in front of a green screen. Yeah, it was pretty cool. So anyway, I'm not normally like this all the time, but that was the way it was. That's the way it works. So
She's got attitude.
Okay, so we're going to get off and with our first release. And I know you probably won't be able to see it, but I'll hold it up to the camera anyways. It's our 2016 Pinot Gris. And I've already poured some in our glass, but who cares? Why don't we pour a little bit more?
Sure.
All right. So this is the new release, 2016 Pinot Gris. I think we've been making it for
longer than I've been here.
Yeah, like this was our 23rd vintage. So we've been making Pinot Gris since the start, but now we actually have over the years figured out how to make it even better, because in the first few years we were okay with the style. So anyway, why don't we this is the yummy part of the kitchen chat. So Korol, because you're in the cellar working with Andrew Windsor, and by the way, Andrew Windsor was supposed to be on tonight, but he is sick as a dog. So of course, we would love to have the whole winemaking team on, but we fit so many people in this. So anyway, Korol, because you've kind of seen the progression of Pinot Gris, why don't you tell us a little bit about maybe how this one was made?
So one change that we've done is it's all natural ferment, where like with yeast.
Yep.
And now, so we just found it's much more, complex maybe at times. And also it's vintage specific. This is quite a different Pinot Gris from what we've had in the past. It seems like it's a little bit more full body, not a lot, but
It's got a great mouthfeel.
Yeah, it is.
Like it's really round, and
I know I say it every year, but I think this is the best Pinot Gris.
I know I'm gonna get her on tape because honestly,
I
but
do.
it does seem to me like Pinot Gris can sometimes have a bitterness to it, or higher acidity or too oaky or things like that. And then this one is just full and round. It's got a sweetness to it,
Yeah.
although I don't think there's any sugar in it.
No, it's just fruity.
Yeah.
Sweetness.
So why don't you tell a little bit about how natural ferment? So the grapes come in and you press them off,
right,
and the juice goes to the tank.
Leave about a good amount of it there, but and then we just let it go. Just leave it in it.
Do you turn on the cold jackets at all, or let it get
so
going
we'll
first?
turn the cold jackets on only to about 18 or 20.
Okay.
So it is a little bit warmer than how we used to make
Yeah.
it. We used to ferment it at colder 12, but that's a different.
Then does it go a little bit faster, or does it take longer to get?
It goes slow. It takes longer, and I think that makes it more complex.
Yeah. So how do you know when it's done then? You're just testing it all the time, right?
Yeah, just all the time. So daily we check it for bricks and temperature, and and then it just finally completes its ferment, and this is it.
So some of this wine was in stainless steel barrels fermenting. We're still doing that. It's probably, I don't know, I want to assume around 20% or somewhere
I'd say
in there.
That's close, yeah.
And stainless steel barrel allow the juice in there to get some extra contact with the sediment, with the lees. And again, I think it gives it a really nice, rich mouthfeel. But the remainder of the Pinot Gris that we bring in them would just be fermented in large tanks.
That's right. Yeah, that's correct.
And then those ones in barrel would be in for about how long?
Depends. We've not really settled on a time. It just depends how it's going. They tend to ferment a little bit faster. So if we find that they're done, then they just get taken out of the barrel.
Oh, right away.
Yeah.
James did want, I think he might have missed it the very early part. So when you say natural ferment, you're talking about no inoculation with yeast, but of course there is a yeast that's doing the ferment.
That's right. Some people call it wild. I'm kind of against that term a little bit. Unless you're actually doing analysis on what yeast is taking it through the ferment. It could be yeast that was already in our winery from previous, times that we added yeast, or it could be yeast that came in on the grape, that type of thing. So unless you're testing to know what type of yeast strain it is, but basically the answer is it's uninoculated, which means we're not adding yeast. Yeah,
right.
That's right.
Right.
So it takes a little bit longer when the juice comes in but once it gets going, I guess it also takes a little bit longer once it's going too, right?
Yeah, for sure it does. Yeah.
So if you're going to cool the ferment down, then that slows it down even more. So that's why we're fermenting it a little bit warmer than normal. So yeah. And then, and it's pretty good. And I know that we've had some people that were out on the weekend for our spring pickup party, and they were loving the Gris. Almost every winery, it seems like in BC, makes a Gris. It's definitely the most planted white variety, I believe, in BC still. And, there's all different kinds of styles. So, if you're a consumer, the easiest way to figure out if, you have to just buy a bottle and taste like that style, because it's not going to necessarily say on the back of the label what style it is. Is it oaked or not oaked, or a rounder or a more austere? It's not really going to say that so much. So you have to just buy them and see which ones you like.
It sounds like fun.
We know ours is good. So. All right. Do we have any questions? Any more questions?
No, not right now, but before you move on to the...
so we're going to open up the rosé, but they're going to do an early poll now. So
Right. So how do we make our rosé at Tinhorn Creek? Is it saignée? Is it blending? Is it decolorization? Or is it skin contact? Don't answer yet, Korol. You're doing like, I know.
Well, I won't say anything, but two of those things are the same, but fair enough.
It's close. Close enough. Wish two of these things are the same.
Has everyone voted?
Almost. Yeah, we've got one that's got 88%, one that's got 0. So
it's the 88% one.
88%. Huh?
Okay.
And 0 is decolorization.
Yeah, we don't decolorize.
Smart.
No. Yeah, and that is the answer. So
okay.
Yeah. So and Sandra, well, we can go through the different methods. This is our new label, by the way. Usually on, can you see it?
Yeah, beautifully actually.
Usually on the cameras, I've been noticing it kind of photographs as a gray color, but it's actually more of a taupe gray color.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I don't see the photographs that same way. But anyway, that's our new bowl. And this is the 2016 Rosé. So let's talk about a little bit of the difference between, well, decolorizing we don't do. So let's just, that would be taking, and this is all Cab Franc. So it'd be like taking the color out of a Cab Franc, but that's not what we do.
No.
Blending, sometimes people blend whites with reds to make rosés. We don't do that, but it is a common way to make rosé as well. We actually make what I would call a purposeful rosé, in that we know what block of grapes is going to give us the rosé earlier in the year. We farm it differently, and then when we pick it, we machine pick it, and time that it's spending in the bins, typically overnight. I guess you guys store it in the barrel cellar overnight in the picking bins, and then you just press it off like a white.
That's right.
So add it to the press and press it off, right?
So machine harvesting, it kind of breaks the berries, so the juice and the skins, you know, yeah, it allows the color to leach into the juice.
Like overnight, when you guys put in the press, it's pretty well the color you see during ferment, right? So Saignée is a different method where you harvest the grapes, say the Cab Sauv or the Cab Franc in this case. You harvest them for a red wine, so typically at a higher % sugar. And then you, after it's gone into the tank, you would bleed off or pull off some of the juice from that red fermenter, and you would make a rosé from it. The reason why we don't like using Saignée is because those grapes, they are meant to be profile to them that's more geared towards the red wine, and pulling that juice off is kind of like pulling off a juice that was meant to be a red wine and making a white wine from it. We'd rather pick the grapes at a lower Brix, at a higher acidity, and treat it just like a white grape right from the get-go. Yeah. So the tricky part with Cab Franc is in those early stages, when the Brix are lower, it can still taste kind of green. It can have that bell peppery vegetal taste, and so you still have to get past that stage and then bring it in as a white grape, basically. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
So we're drinking it. Yeah. Right. Oh yeah, thanks. So the new label, Jan Nelson, who does all of our sales and marketing, he's responsible for that, and Town Hall Brands this year. And so Jan's not here, but we can talk about him behind his back.
Also, way more fun.
But I will say that the rosé, we made a bit more of it this year, maybe a little over 1,000 cases. Yeah. But it's not gonna last. So last Friday it won best BC rosé over $19. So at the wine festival. So as soon as you win the best in BC, it started flying off the shelves. And so I would suggest, if you're like a Crush Club member, that you open some of these wines, like the Pinot Gris, the Gewurz, the Rosé. I'd open them up sooner than later. And if you end up liking them, then it'll still be around if you go to reorder. Because I talked to some people who, they don't open up the rose till the fall, and then they realize they love it, and it's gone.
It's too late.
Yeah, and I think Terry and Schlang are letting me know that the rosé is kind of flying out the door right now. So
I think a case under her arm and one under.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're getting orders like as soon as people open their cases. Now we're getting orders for a case. Send me a case of rosé.
Yeah, the rosé is pretty good. And, we've always, the first year, we've always used Cab Franc, and this one's all Cab Franc. And we love Cab Franc.
It's perfect.
It is. I mean, it's got really that natural acidity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of wineries using Cab Franc now for rosé, and I think it's great because Cab Franc makes a great wine. Well, we're going to taste red wine, Cab Franc today as well. But it's just a wildly different wine when you pick it early for rosé. And most people are pretty surprised that this wine doesn't have any like Pinot Gris or Gewurz or anything else added to it, because it does taste really juicy and fruity, but it does have that kind of neat Cab Franc character still. Has a little bit of character and interest that something like a Merlot would probably not have. So
one question, and that is, if you don't drink all your rosé right now, how is this for an aging wine?
Well, for me, the Pinot Gris, the rosé, and the Gewurz, I would tend to go about 3 years-ish. I certainly have rosés that are 5 years old in my cellar, and they still taste great. But in general, I don't think that after year 3, 4, 5, that they get better. I think they just hold, right? And so, but with the rosé, I don't know. It has pretty good longevity. I've been surprised because, like I said, I've opened some up from 5 vintages ago, and they're fine still. I know, Korol.
Yeah, I know. They'd only last a couple months at my house if we're lucky.
Yeah, Korol gets the release before you guys do, and every time we're just starting to open them, she's like, "Mine's gone. Mine's already gone from my house."
I always forget to buy another case, and then it's gone.
I know. So you are drinking it early, and often.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
You're not reordering. So vote early, vote often, that type of thing. Yeah. Anyway, I think rosé, it's such a hot thing right now in BC. At some point it may slow down. It's been pretty hot for quite a while. Longer than we've been making it. I'd say a couple years before we started making it, it was really catching on. I think I'll make a rosé, if not more than half, I'd say make a rosé. And what I found in BC is that in the US, sometimes fads will go away, but in BC they don't go away as fast. Like the US had a Syrah fad, and then that went away, but Syrah is still big and an important variety here in BC. And I have a feeling that the rosé is going to be the same way. I don't necessarily see that when it starts declining around the world that it's necessarily going to decline in BC, because our customers love it, right? So they don't really care if the trend out there is lower. But we're not seeing any signs that it's slowing down. That's for sure. So. All right.
Oh, Carol, this is a subjective question.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
She wants to know your vote for the best patio wine. Would it be the rosé, the Gris, or the Gewürztraminer?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Well, for me, it would be the Gewürz, but that's just me. Cause I still like the Gris with food.
Yeah.
I'm just love that Gris with food.
This Gris is pretty smooth though.
Yeah,
so it would go good on a patio.
But we haven't gotten
my
to
first
the
choice
yet.
is rosé.
Is it?
Yeah, because it's limited. So then
I guess, but
I have that mentality.
I'd say on the patio, Carol, I'd go with the rosé, but in the hot tub, I'd go with the Gewürz.
Oh yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah, yeah, in a plastic glass. We're nothing if not safe.
Yeah, no glass in the hot tub.
Airing suggestions. Yeah. The classic cedar plank salmon.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's so many things that actually I know we've said this before on Kitchen Chat, and we've even said it with Jeff when our chef's been up here. But there's almost nothing at our restaurant at Miradoro that cannot pair with the rosé, and that includes some pretty beefy, rich meat type dishes. Yeah. It's unbelievable how it just holds up to almost every food, pastas, you name it. And people tend to think it's delicate and light, but we've always said it's a brosé, right? It's like
rosé.
It's like a man's rosé. It's a brosé.
Yeah, real men drink rosé.
That's right.
Jamie's got a question. What other grape have you tried making the rosé with before settling on the Cab Franc?
Yeah,
or has it always been the Cabernet?
Yeah, it was Merlot and
Cab Franc.
Oh, and Cab Franc.
It was Merlot, right?
Yeah.
For one, a little bit of Syrah one year too.
I don't remember that.
I do, because it was my first year.
Oh,
so it was approximately 5 years ago.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's weird.
That's weird. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go back.
I'm gonna go Google it. Get the Google out.
Our first year when we weren't allowed to make rosé, but we decided to make rosé because I wasn't make any more wines.
It was so much fun.
Yeah. So we basically pulled off. We did it the Sandra method that year, right? So we pulled off from a Merlot fermenter and a Cab Franc fermenter into stainless steel barrels. And I think we had one of each, if I'm not mistaken, or it was 2 barrels of each. I can't remember which. Maybe it was 2 of each. And we by far liked the Cab Franc better. I mean, there was low, but it was a little flatter. Like it didn't have that acidity, right? And we were wanting to like the Merlot more because we have more Merlot acreage. We have more Merlot to go around acreage-wise, but the Cab Franc went out. And so fast forward 5 years from now, 5 years, we're getting ready to do some replanting in the next 1 to 2 years at Tinhorn, and we're going to be planting more Cab Franc. And due to the rosé, and part of that's just due to Cab Franc. I mean, as a red wine, yeah, for sure. So yeah, Merlot was the other one, but there's some great rosés out there made with Gamay, obviously Pinot Noir, Syrah. There's some that are blended with Pinot Gris and Noir. I've seen some white and red blends. What else is out there? God, there's a lot of rosés out there. There's some that are like a heritage blend from Cab Sauv and Merlot all blended into one. Yeah, it's fun. So, but Cab Franc's the best. There's no getting around it. That's for us. Feel, but yeah, we've settled in on it. And actually, as a side note, just interestingly enough, in our vineyard, we've taken the 3 acres of one of our blocks of grapes over on Black Sage. And it has a slight low spot in it, about a foot maybe. So it's prone to frost problems in the fall, and because of that, it doesn't always. It was always a struggle to get that block to finish as a red wine. And so as soon as we were either going to have to plant something else there, or do something different, or put in a helicopter landing pad or something like that. So we opted to go with rosé, and what that means is, even though it's in a slight frost pocket, that frost tends to come after these grapes are already harvested. So we're able to hang a little bit more tonnage on these vines to keep the acidity up, and we pick them 2-3 weeks before that block would have been picked had it been a red. And again, it's just matching your site with the marketplace. And I just thought it was such a great solution. Why rock uphill? Why keep fighting with a site that's not meant for high quality red wine? The answer is it makes, BC's best rosé, right? It makes a great rosé, but you have to be willing to let the acreage speak to you that way instead of the market, right? In a sense, right? Yeah. So I just poured a new, this is a 2015 white. It's the Oldfield Reserve Chardonnay. It's the follow-up to our spectacular 2014 Oldfield. So we've been waiting for this wine for a long time ago. Yeah. So I can it comes from the vines right in front of our house that you can't see, but I'm pointing at them right now. So tell me a little bit about this one, Korol, because it's one of my favorite wines ever.
Oh, me too. Actually, you know, again, it's an all-natural ferment, meaning we didn't use any commercial yeasts on it. It went through malolactic fermentation naturally. It took a lot longer. The process takes a lot longer. It's bottle aged longer.
Right. How long is it in oak for?
Oh, I think it's 18 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's only like, is all of it in the French oak, or
like the 225 liter barriques and also some puncheons that are 400 liters. So that's new for us too. And that's been really fun to taste the difference. And I think it also adds to the complexity.
Yeah.
Gives it lots of different levels. It's such a delicious wine.
Yeah. And I think some of it spends time in tank while some of it's in the barrels, different size barrels, and then it switches. It swaps.
Yeah, because so we're tasting it often, and our cellar team, we taste it all together, and we decide, okay, maybe that portions had enough oak, so let's take that out, put it in either stainless steel, natural oak, and so it's a moving target all the time.
Yeah, so Andrew does Friday tastings with the cellar, so Korol and Philip and David and Suze, you wouldn't necessarily taste this every week, but you might taste it once a month or so.
Right. So we're tasting something every week. So.
Right. And so, so this wine, I mean, it's definitely more oak. It came from the Gold Mile Bench. It's a single block, about 1.9 acres in front of my house. And it was planted about 7 years ago or so when Andrew Moon got here from Australia. And it was one of the first blocks that, it was actually the second block that he attempted to replant on. It was Chardonnay before, so we always knew it was a good Chardonnay, but he changed up the, we didn't really know what clone it was before, but he changed up the rootstock, and we installed drip irrigation in it. And before that could give us its first grape, we actually then got the Gold Mile Bench sub-appellation by the BC government. So, you know, this still for us is, it's the flagship wine that we make, especially with the Gold Mile Bench on it, which of course we're really proud of. So, yeah.
We just put the tasting notes up, and we are getting a few giggles and comments about the tennis balls. Is it that Andrew wrote this?
What do you rate? God, I guess I should have read that before we sat down tonight.
So there's kind of what I call like a diesel smell. It's a bit of a reductive smell that adds complexity to it. And one of the guys in our tasting, our Friday tasting, said, "Oh, it's got that new tennis ball thing." So we're like, okay, Andrew did. I don't know. Down there? Is
so
it on the
all
label?
Comments on the tennis balls go to Andrew Windsor at tinhorn.com, not Sandra.
All one word, Andrew Windsor.
Andrew Windsor at tinhorn.com. There you go.
I think they're.
I know what they're saying, but you know, I guess when you guys get it and you open it up, you're gonna go like, "Oh, I smell that," but it's only because we.
But
just
in a good way.
Down.
It's tennis balls in a good way.
Yeah.
Well, new tennis
balls. There you go.
And celery.
I've never heard that before. By the way,
I hadn't either. I think it was a guy from Australia. Actually.
That's so
one
funny.
of our helpers during harvest.
During harvest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You know those guys.
Yeah.
And cellaring potential on this one.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I mean, it is a new vineyard with a new winemaker in a different style, and so this is only this. Now, we have 23 years of history making Chardonnay on this site, but we only have 2 years of history making this style of Chardonnay with these vines. And so I would say it's impossible for me to tell you that. I mean, honestly, because, you know, any winery that tells you they know it's going to age for a certain amount of time, at least, when they haven't made this wine before, it's impossible. But I mean, I can tell you that they're fruitier, less complex, less layered wines last for 5, 6, 7 years. So this one easily should go for 7 years. And my hope is that you age it almost like a red wine. Yeah. Our reds, I tend to, if you're going to give it some age, give it about 7 years is a good rule of thumb. And I'd love to do that with this. Admit though, with the 14, I bought a case of that at the time, and I'm down to like 2 bottles, and it's only like 2017. I know. So, but we do keep this aside in our library, you know, which I can't touch. And so we certainly are going to be able to know how long it'll go. But I honestly feel if you guys want to see what an aged Chardonnay looks like, this would be the perfect one to do it with. And, you know, I'd start at 5 years. You have a couple bottles, open one up now. That's what I always say. Open one up now, see what it tastes like. If you like it now, then who cares about aging maybe. But, you know, if you have 2 bottles, how many did they get in their case box?
Oh, just
one.
Depending which club they were.
Oh, okay.
Some people got 2 in their box. Some people got. If you get 1, for me, I'm always just opening it up right away just to see what it tastes like right now. And then the answer is, you know, like, wow, that's amazing. Well, we only made a whopping 200 and something cases of it. So there's no getting around the fact that this wine won't be around for very long. So if it is one you like, it's good to find out sooner while it's still in there yet. And it's not a cheap wine. We sell it for almost $35, and make no apologies for that, because this wine is, you know, absolutely, you know, hand ended in the vineyard and you know, hand stirred in the barrel, and has a good extra year aging time on it before it comes out. So yeah, we're pretty happy with it. Yep. So I don't know, Carol, that's not a bad patio pounder either, by the way, because I'd be pretty keen on still drinking more of this tonight.
So delicious.
So before we move on, we should do the next poll, because it kind of relates to some of what we were just talking about, I think.
Sure.
All right.
So this is just to see if you're paying attention, because I think that actually made some reference to it. But how many bottles of wine are there in a barrel?
A regular barrel.
A regular barrel, not your big barrique.
Not our barriques. No, right.
So how many in a barrel? So 275, 150, 350, or 300?
Is this before or after we sample from it?
Yeah.
We know that there are factors that can affect
Yes,
it.
let's pretend it's full.
But we're going to say on average what you would expect.
Let's pretend it's full.
Let's pretend it's full, and that we haven't been sampling. It's been topped up, and
it started full.
Yeah, fair enough. It starts full.
It starts full. Yeah.
All right. Have they voted yet?
Yeah, they're just about there. So 275 has about 33% of the vote. 150 is 0. 50 is 8%, and 300 is 0%.
Oh, we have smarty pants again. So yeah, it's 300 bottles. So those of you who can do math real quick, it's 300 bottles, but
25 cases.
Yeah, and we still have we probably have more than 1,100 barrels now.
Yeah.
I tend to think we're at 12, almost 1,300 now.
Yeah,
probably,
and
right?
then all those big barrels too.
And the barriques. How many of those do we
Or
have?
the puncheons. I'm not sure now, actually.
Yeah, more than 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than 20. So yeah, and then we have the stainless steel barrels.
Yeah.
Right? So
a lot of barrels.
Yeah, we have a lot of barrels. So you can take maybe, let's say at least 1,350 barrels times 300. That's how many bottles of beer on the wall.
I don't like to look at it that way. It's too much.
Yeah, you know why that's too much is because they have to hand touch every single bottle when it goes through the bottling line. So we actually think more frequently in cases, and less frequently in bottles, but of course we like it if you guys think in case terms too instead of bottle terms. So okay, so we now have the Gewurz, and this is the 2016, and Korol's already did it. So yeah, this Gewurz is pretty different, but I don't think you're going to find it's a massive departure from us. It's still pretty well. The majority of it comes from our property, from a single vineyard at the back of where we're sitting right now, and we also do purchase some grapes in all of a long-term contract that we have as well of the Gewurz. So we make quite a bit of Gewurz, and this particular one is
just so
crazy
interesting.
Good. Yeah. Do you guys want some in your glass over there? I'll pass some your way.
Getting kind of thirsty.
We were wondering.
Yeah. So, I mean, one thing that Andrew Windsor, our winemaker, will tell you when if he's doing this tasting with you, he'll say that we had a small amount, under 10% of botrytis, which is a noble rot. It's who grows the grapes. He doesn't think that's very good at all. He wants zero of that. So yes, it makes a pretty intense and interesting wine, and it's got a real honey, I think, like a honey flavor to it and an intensity to it, probably caused by the vintage year. But botrytis is not something that we try to get, let's put it that way, because it can go sideways very quickly, right? So it can spread very fast.
But it's it's really well balanced. It has that honey flavor. It's got some floral, but it's still got a great.
It's really round. It's a little bit. It's either a little bit lower in acidity or a little bit higher in sugar than the previous vintage, I'd say. But I don't know which. I haven't looked at the numbers, but I think it's hovering right around 8 grams. Does it have it on the text sheet there? 8 grams of sugar.
It might be a bit.
I don't think we have the sugar on the text sheet.
Okay. I think I asked Andrew. I think it's hovering around 8 grams of sugar. So it would be just near the border of, if you're used to the old sugar code, sweetness code in BC, 0 would be dry and 1 would be off dry. It would still be considered dry, but it would be right on the border.
So Carol wanted to know, when people are talking about sort of some of the old world Gewürztraminer, so the German ones, they tend to be a little bit sweeter than what we're doing here in the valley. And she has a preference for the drier. But
what's different, Carol, about the German ones and the Alsatian ones is that they also have this huge acid that balances out the much higher sugar. And so, I mean, the sugars could be double or triple what's here, but the acids are so high that I don't think they come off as tasting as sweet as you would think they would be. And that's a weakness of mine, like Alsatian anything. I just, I love Gewürzes and Rieslings and Pinot Gris from Alsace. So I'm probably not the best one to ask, Carol, but this one is it's pretty silky, it's pretty smooth, and there's nothing thin about it at all. It's got this oiliness to it, kind of a real thickness to it. It tastes thick to me.
But it has a nice finish.
Real big viscosity.
Andrew just typed in a little note
Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
Hope you're feeling better.
This would be a cheese and pate crushing wine.
Oh, yeah.
I would absolutely, well, again, maybe not politically correct, but I still, on the odd occasion, like foie gras, and this would be so good with foie gras. So good. Don't you think?
Yes.
Oh my God, it would be so good.
How about that duck poutine with foie gras that we had in Calgary? Like that.
That would be
I poutine anything.
I think you need to go with us more frequently to some of these things. I think and with cheese it would go good too. I mean, it's you're well beyond what Gewürz is now. I think that typical. Hey, it goes with Asian style, this and that. We're way beyond that in BC now. I mean, Gewürzes go with way more than that. And, but that being said, Gewürz is really, there's not a lot of people making a good amount of Gewürz. I mean, we make we make a good amount of Gewurz at Tinhorn, right?
Mhm.
And you
Yes,
know,
we
we
do.
really shouldn't, right? Because we're in the South Okanagan in a sense. Everyone doesn't think a Gewurz has come from down here, but you know,
And it's our property. We have
That's right.
we have a unique Gewurz.
yeah, no, and I'd say, again, I don't know the exact percentages, but you know, it's close to about 2/3 of the Gewurz comes from our property in this vintage year, and then the rest would come from 2 vineyards, but mostly 1 vineyard in Oliver region. So it's all south, almost all of it south. Yeah,
That's delicious.
yeah, really good. Mm-hmm. We're still drinking. Good.
Move on. Step
Wow.
away from the Gewürztraminer.
Yeah,
tough.
so I probably should have brought some water because going from the Gewurz to anything else is really difficult. And now we're going to switch gears and go red. But, yeah, I was hoping that we would, you know, you guys would ask me something really either controversial or hard
Yeah.
tonight.
Oh,
Because now we're tasting 6 wines, so it's a good time to,
Try and trip her up.
yeah, it's a good time to get me to try and think.
just a little. Yeah. Anything about Trump? No.
Oh, you might
No, we're not gonna. We're gonna have a lovely
Yeah.
tasting tonight.
We're having so much fun.
One question was about the alcohol. This one's a little bit higher. Is it 14?
Yeah, and again, it really just comes down to when Andrew Windsor and Andrew Moon think the flavors have progressed past the initial flavors that you get are like when it's unripe, you get like a citrusy, right? Appley and citrusy. And at ripening, you get more of the floral notes, and we're not going for that style. So past that, you would get that tree fruit, deeper fruit, kind of like I don't want to say peaches, but you know, sometimes apricot-y, things like that. And because that in some vintage years takes a little, you know, it might be having a lot of heat during the sugars keep climbing, and but you haven't yet achieved the flavors that you want yet. So by the time it comes in, it can come in at 24 bricks or something like that, and then you end up with the higher alcohol.
Yeah.
I mean, this wine, I would be worried about that if it tasted hot. Right. It doesn't taste hot. So, and again, it has a good amount of sweetness to it. Mm-hmm. But that being said, be careful with this wine because it goes down.
There's going to be a lot of that on the patio this summer.
Yeah, it goes down really easy, and
we do have 14%.
Yeah,
we do have a hard question for both of you.
Okay,
it's come in from Andrews. This is a really hard question.
I thought you weren't going to give us any Andrew questions. He's sick. He's not allowed to ask a question.
I can't resist.
He's on cold medicine.
I can't resist this one. What was the last song at the U2 concert?
Oh, you know what? We
don't have any idea.
You know why? Because they played a song that was brand new that they had never played for an audience before, ever. Like, we were the first audience they've ever played this new song for. So I'm just calling it
We have no idea.
We have no idea what it was called. Like, none. Zero.
Good question.
Yeah.
Oh, Andrew.
Yeah.
Good question.
Maybe I should have asked Seattle. Like, they played after what the last, but we have no idea. Andrew, you can look it up on Google. They'll discography it for you. So
yeah, that's funny.
It was pretty awesome though.
It was.
And just so you know, for future concerts, I won't even say this.
What?
They barely patted us down when we went in.
I know. Yeah. It was a bit disappointing. We were expecting. We were like, I know. You know why? I think that's because we're getting old.
Yeah, so that's really awesome because now we can carry like flasks.
Totally.
Okay, you didn't hear that from me. We would obviously never do that.
It's illegal, and you should
we would
never
do that. No.
But I'll tell you, the lineup at the wine.
Right. So we have a theory about that because the general age of the audience is progressively getting old as Bono is, right?
Yeah.
No lineups at the beer, and then there was this massive lineup at the wine. Just
I don't know what,
again,
and it wasn't even really good wine.
Yeah, no.
They need to fix that.
Yeah.
They need to have better wine
Okay.
at BC Place.
Yeah, we're getting feisty now on wine chat, but okay, we're good. Thanks for that question, Andrew.
Yeah,
So really
good
helpful.
one.
So 2013 Oldfield series Pinot Noir.
I
Yep.
like this wine a lot.
Do you?
Yeah.
We have an answer from Thor.
Oh, good.
Okay.
What
Thor
was
just came, is the giveaway.
That's right. Yay! Good
It
job.
was, yay! The little things that you give away. Thanks, Thor.
Were you there?
What
were
section
you there?
were you in?
Yeah.
Were you on the
Did
floor?
you have to wait to get in for 2 hours?
Yeah, we were right in.
Oh, we got
Pat
in.
down crew.
Yeah, we
Oh,
were good.
pat down crew.
Okay, so this is the Pinot Noir and 2013, and yeah, it's been probably in
Pinot Noir.
Yeah, good. It's been in the bottle for about a year. And you know, there's just something that's good about a Pinot Noir you can age properly because, you know, the Pinot Noirs that don't age properly in the valley, they can be thin and one-dimensional. And this, you know, this wine, you know, has some real bottle aging complexity. It's a fallacy that the screw top on bottles doesn't age a wine. I mean, the wine still ages in the bottle with screw top or with cork. It's just that it ages a little bit slower with the screw top and more consistently. But yeah, this wine's tasting pretty good.
It helps retain the fruitiness. Like
Yeah.
It's still fruity.
We only made about, I want to say about 800 or so
Yeah.
cases of this wine, a little bit less than that, 700 and something. So again, not a wild amount of it, but it just came out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Jamie just said, I had to wait 1.5 hours to get in, but I got a pat down.
That's
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's that.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yeah.
It does get funnier as the night goes on, doesn't it?
I know. It's good. It's good. Are there any questions
Carol
about
does
Pinot?
have a question about aging. So
Okay. Sure.
what do you do when you go, oh, I'm going to age this, and then you open it up and you go, rats, I went too long.
Yeah. So the question, did you go to, you know, what happens when you open up a bottle and you've gone too long? I mean, you have to ask yourself the first thing I would do in that case, if I were you, is I would ask the winery, when was the last time they tasted that wine? Because it could be your storage, right?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that your storage is not taking life out of your wine because it's like too cold in the summer, because then that's just it's going to happen with other wines. But if you're pretty sure that you have a good, pretty stable condition, the answer is, again, I go back. Does it have cork in it? That makes a big difference because every cork bottle, and some let in more oxygen than others. And so again, another good question, if you have a wine that has an aged veil. But again, given if it was a bottle like this, and you've waited too long, and it's with a Stelvin screw cap. I mean, all I can say at that point is you're going to have to drink the rest of what's in there. If I would open up the next one right away. You really shouldn't have bottle to bottle variation if it's screw top though, right? So,
She also asked, the second part of that question was, if you're in the cellar and you're making a wine, you go, oh, we're going to let it go another month because it's just showing so much. But you try it a month later and you go, oh, darn. Have you ever had
you
that
mean like
happen?
when it's in barrels still?
Yeah. Have you ever had that happen
Lot.
where you wish
You
you
know-
pulled it off a little earlier? Or
Patience is a big thing. There's lots of times we're tasting the wines and we get nervous and you just start making decisions.
Is it time to pull it out?
Yeah, and the best is just to relax, just slow down, let it go.
Yeah.
It'll come back. And even after we bottle,
Mhm.
after we bottle, the wines go through some changes.
Yeah.
Sometimes we bottled this really great wine, and it's not been released yet, but we'll taste it and we'll go, uh-oh.
Yeah,
And it just comes
with
around.
the Oldfield Reserve wines. I mean, we're giving them easily a year in the bottle before they get released, and so by the time we're releasing it, we feel pretty confident that you're going to like it. And but yeah, I don't know. I flippantly once, when I was quite young, I was really young, and I was working at Rodney Strong at the time, and somebody called me up when I was working in the lab, and they asked, I just found a bottle of, and it was 20-year-old Gewürztraminer at the time, and they wanted to know if they could get a lot of money at auction for it. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this wine is not good anymore. And they were all just preparing themselves for the best wine ever. But it was a Gewürztraminer that you probably shouldn't be aging for 20 years, right? And so I told that customer, make yourself a nice dinner and have a salad on the side. And when you open it up, you're going to use it either in your glass or on your salad. And they didn't really find that very funny, actually. But that was my answer when I was younger. So
yeah,
Carol, if you've gone too long, it's hard to know. But I mean, the best thing to do, like I said, is always to try the wines first. And that gives you kind of a feel for how long, what kind of potential you think they have. Like, wow, this needs a lot more age. It's still really rough, or a lot of tannin, and then go back to it a year or two later. Yeah.
Got one more aging temperature from Steve, who's asking about temperature. So if you're holding your wine in a wine fridge, what temperature can you keep it at? And is there different temperatures for whites and reds?
I just go 16 for everything.
16 for everything?
Yeah. Okay. I'm reds. I always do the same personally. And if you're going to pick a temp, I would pick 16. Yeah. And then that's a little bit too chilly to drink that red. So again, a good rule of thumb would be to pull it out of the wine fridge half hour before you want to drink it. And I put it in the fridge for a half hour before I want to drink it. But whites and reds are generally drunk. Like the whites are drunk too cold and the reds are drunk too warm. They should actually be drunk at a much closer temperature to one another. Yeah. So we're actually pouring my favorite wine of the night. I know it's hard to say that after we've had so many good wines tonight, but I just love this wine, and it's the 2014 Reserve Cab Franc. So we made a 2010 in this. We skipped the 2011. We made a 12, a 13, and this is the 14. And so almost every year we're able.
Which shows really nicely.
Does it?
Unless we have the wrong screen up.
That's okay. Fair enough. Did you see it this time for the third time?
No, let's just hold it 1 second. We'll get the screen back up. Actually, that label shows.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
But anyway, that's the Oldfield Reserve Cab Franc, and we don't make an awful lot of this. Again, for maybe 500 cases of it, I think. And it would be the Cab Franc, typically from our estate vines, that's the most intense and probably has the best chance at aging well. Yeah. I mean, you can choose a Cab Franc to go into the blends. Sometimes that, in a blend, it's a little bit different mindset that you have with the Cab Franc you choose. But when you're putting a Cab Franc out there all on its own, 100% Cab Franc as a reserve wine, it's got to be the very best Cab Franc that you have, and that's what this one is. And so a little bit around 500 cases out. It's probably on the tech sheet, and I've probably gotten it wrong, but I want to say it's around 500 cases somewhere. Yeah. And then this would be from a super great year. 2014 was an awesome year, although it was pretty hot. And so if anything, the Cab Franc sometimes struggles in the heat of that summer. But by the time we get into the fall and it cools down, the Cab Franc just rockets ahead. Right. And it was a great year for Cab Franc. It was the first year with Andrew Windsor making the wines. And Yeah, and it was a really magical vintage, I would say. Yeah.
I had a question about from Brenda, and why is it that the Cabernet Franc is doing so well here in Okanagan Valley, and that more people seem to be making it as a single variety?
Well, it just seems the right temperature, right.
It fits so well. Like, first of all, it doesn't die in the winter. It doesn't have any problems coming through a harsh winter. So it's very strong and sturdy from a winter hardiness standpoint. And that's really important, right? Because you can grow, Zinfandel and, Merlot and like all kinds of other varieties that in a really cold year might not come through very well. But Cab Franc is a real trooper through the winter. That's first thing. And then again, because we finish our fall in a cool manner, and some would say cold. I mean, there's often days on the crush pad where we're bringing things in late October, which would be like close to zero picking, right, in temperature. But the Cab Franc just loves the cold. And so in the fall, right, it doesn't really like anything above 35 degrees Celsius in the summer. So when we have hot problem, but once it turns cool in the fall, it just propels. And I think the reason why the consumers like it so much is it tastes unique. It's got an earthiness, and it's got a real interesting character that like hotter climates that make this real jammy Merlot, jammy Syrahs, Cab Sauvs, they all taste like jam at some point. You know what I'm saying? And this wine has real character. It's a little leaner. Yeah. The tannins aren't overly filling your mouth. They're a little bit sharper, and it goes super good with food. And so, again, I think people in BC and the West Coast have gotten used to, and in Alberta and definitely in the Western area, they've gotten used to drinking wine with food, right? And Cab Franc just really does good with food. Yeah.
And is there a difference in what the style the Okanagan Valley is doing versus, say, Old World that's been putting it into Bordeaux blends?
Well, again, like when I've talked to some people in hotter climates, they actually have a hard time getting rid of flavors of the green notes because, again, it really needs that. It needs the end of fall in cool climate to get rid of those green notes. So sometimes when you're in Napa or Sonoma, you can taste some Cab Francs and that they came in ripe, super ripe, and they have just that little hint of green still in them. It's not really a problem, but it's just odd because everything's so hot and ripe down there. But again, Cab Franc is fickle in that it doesn't like heat, and it likes that cool end to the season. So, I mean, I don't think that people in Bordeaux, there's some places that use a lot of Cab Franc in their blends, but most of the time it's known as the backbone, because of its tannin structure, it can be kind of sharp. But here, I mean, if you're able to have a good year for Cab Franc, you're basically able to, you're able to put it out there as a single variety, and it tastes smooth and fruity almost, right? It's got a really fruitiness, right?
And I think maybe some people don't realize when you say it actually doesn't ripen when it's 35, like above 35.
Yeah, it just kind of
shut down.
They shut down. That's right. So around 35 Celsius in the summer, the vine will actually kind of go into hibernation mode.
It's not a good thing, actually.
Yeah. So totally different. But anyway, so that was our last wine, and now I definitely need some food. So anyway, that's it. Do we have any last questions?
Well, there's just one quick one from Monica about using an aerator. So if you have a red and it's a new vintage that you're introducing, would you use an aerator?
I have.
Do you use an actual aerator, or do you just go back and forth?
I've done both. You taught me the back and forth.
So you can just get a pitcher, 2 pitchers, or you can get 2 decanters and just pour it in one and 3 or 4 times as I don't know.
Just helps open it up.
Yeah, you don't have to buy fancy aerators. Sorry, aerator salesman, but you can just go back and forth into containers as long as they're clean, and it'll kind of do the same thing. But you know what? Like also opening up the wine a little bit ahead of when you're going to pour it, an hour ahead maybe, and putting it in a decanter helps, or a nice leisurely dinner where you're basically not drinking so fast. You're just kind of, what is that like?
I don't know.
Anyway, where you're just basically, while the wine is opening up in your glass, it starts tasting a lot different. That's how I would do it. But so we're going to do this again. Terry's telling me to wrap it up. We're going to wrap it up right now. Wrap it up. She's just like, yes. Just so bossy. Anyway, in July, I think, and can't remember who's doing that with me.
Ken, your husband.
Oh, my husband with me?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh God, you better tune into that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll like that one.
Can I be in the audience?
Yeah,
like here in the audience.
So we're gonna do that in July, and then we're gonna do so we do these every other month. So if you have a friend who didn't get to watch it, we actually get way more people that watch it after tonight, and it's always on YouTube, I guess. So you guys can watch it after this, or if there's some things you want to call us on because you think we said it wrong, you can rewatch it tomorrow and then send in an email, Andrew Windsor at tinhorn.com. All right.
He's excited about that. A quick mention about June 4th.
So I'm coming out with Terry and Chelan to Vancouver on June 4th. I think there's details on our website, UNT's area. But we're going to be doing a pickup party out in the wild, out in Vancouver this time. And so I will have just come up probably from Seattle that day, and we're going to be doing a pickup party out there on June 3rd. So there's a few spots left, mostly sold out, but there's a few spots left if you guys want to come out.
Where is it?
That's a good
Steel Toad.
Oh, Steel Toad. I can relate to that.
Yeah. No.
Oh, that's a good name.
If they order any cases now, it's not too late for us to throw it on the pallet.
Right. So it's meant to be a pickup party, so you can order cases now, and we'll bring them out, and then we don't have to do the shipping.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
That's nice.
I know, it's awesome. Okay. Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks, bye.
Yeah. Now we're going to drink.